I am Shannon O'Hurley. My pronouns are she, her. And I am so profoundly grateful to be with you in this beloved spiritual community here and online across the miles. What a blessing and what a gift, what an absolute gift. So last week, I talked about this idea that even in the darkest place on earth, which is the floor of the ocean, a place called the Mariana Trench, there is light. There are bioluminescent creatures, sort of like fireflies for the ocean. That even in the darkest places, there is light. And that light comes from within the bioluminescent creatures, and that light is within you and me. This light is always present from within us. And so in my offering today, my intention is that we take this truth even further. I hope for those of you who were able to see or listen to the talk last week, you've kind of let that marinate in you, this idea, this powerful image, the metaphor of the bioluminescent creatures at the bottom of the ocean, and that the challenge, the difficulty, the fear that so many of us are experiencing right now with what's happening in our country, that there is this light within us, and it allows us to move forward. But the thing is the journey in our teaching in metaphysics and New Thought is the journey from the head to the heart. It's one thing to know it intellectually. It's an entirely different ballgame to live it from your beingness, to not only become it, but to bring it forth as healing for others as well. My talk title today is Faith Finds Us Anyway. Faith finds us anyway. It depends on what we have faith in. So I want to preface this conversation for those of you who may be joining for the first time or listening, or you might be newish. When I'm talking about faith, I'm not talking about faith in religiosity, faith in an old-timey religion, faith in perhaps the religion of your childhood, maybe. This is not about faith in something outside of us. This isn't about having faith in a, dare I say it, moody old guy floating around on the clouds. This is not that kind of faith. I understand the word faith can be misunderstood if you're new to our teaching. What we teach here is that the faith that we talk about is the faith of the ineffable presence of the divine at work in our life. The faith of love itself, that love always wins. That love, which is my word for God, just mine. We have many words for God here: source, universe, the I am, spirit. Whatever you are comfortable with is fantastic. But it's faith in the activity of that love that is always at work and at play through each one of us. I felt God's spirit source love when Daniel just sang. Did you not? That is faith. That is God. That is source moving through Daniel as a portal, as a channel of the divine. And Kate and Emily and Brian and the New Thought messengers, every one of them, right? We have faith in goodness. We have faith in God the good. There is no judgment, there is no blame, there is no shame. There is love, there is alignment, there is truth. And we know it when we feel it. We know it in that moment when we are with a little baby in our arms. We know it when we're caught in a moment seeing something so beautiful, a piece of art or nature. We know it. We know spirit when we feel it. When someone gives us such hope or forgiveness or love in any given moment, that's a God moment, that's a spirit moment. That's the faith I'm talking about today. I'm talking about faith in the goodness of humanity. And we have an opportunity every day, every hour, every minute, every breath, to turn towards this kind of faith, or to get sucked into and often unconsciously turn towards fear or shadow or pain. The choice is ours. Thank you, free will. We get to choose. We get to choose. And I feel like it's very, very important right now, historically, where our country is, to remember, to deeply remember that we are at choice here. As people of faith, we are at choice if we're going to respond or we're going to react. And human beings have found themselves in challenging times historically over and over and over again. This question, this spiritual question of which way will you choose love or will you choose fear, seems to be a theme for humanity over the millennia. Just 92 years ago, so less than 100 years ago, 92 years ago in 1933, in Germany, Hitler had just gotten into power. Mussolini held control over Italy. Stalin ruled the formerly known USSR. And our allies in Canada and the UK and Australia were experiencing record-breaking levels of unemployment and devastating poverty. And here in the United States, in 1933, we were in the grip of the Great Depression. People lost their farms, their homes, their jobs, their savings. Breadlines and soup kitchens were the norm. Half of American children lived in poverty or malnutrition. In 1933, 92 years ago, survival was the main objective for a majority of human beings on this planet. It was a very painful and dark time, and we can gain the wisdom that they turned to during that time. There is so much wisdom. It was an interesting thing. I was looking this up, and I was surprised and yet absolutely not surprised that while all of this was going on, in 1933, here in the United States, mystical teachings, metaphysical teachings, new thought grew. It flourished exponentially. Why? Because it was a safe place for people to gather in the midst of darkness, a place that gave them active hope, a place that rewrote the idea of having faith in something other than a God-man in the sky, but having faith in humanity and the goodness of one another. There was an explosion of the understanding of progressive spirituality that came to the planet at that very time. Yes. People turned to communities much like ours today because it made them feel better. It made them know that we would get through this together. The famous Serenity Prayer, written by the Christian theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, that is so closely associated with Alcoholics Anonymous, was written at this time. It was March of 1933 when Franklin Delano Roosevelt so famously said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." That's the year he said that. And in this very same year in Colorado in 1933, a New Thought spiritual teacher named Alice R. Ritchie wrote the following: "I acquaint myself with God and I am at peace. Fear is a mental warfare. We find our peace only when we find God. If we have not the faith that wins, the faith that demonstrates, it is because we are not well enough acquainted with God and with the peace that Spirit brings. Often people will try so hard to get more faith," she writes, "and others seem to think that in some mystical way faith will just come to them. Some are envious of it. I believe," she wrote, "everyone has faith, and they put it into that which they are acquainted. Evil if they know more evil, or God the good if they know more of God the good. She continued, we acquaint ourselves with God the good by giving our attention to the things of spirit. 1933, she's writing this. In our reading, in our studying, in our meditation, in our silence, in our constant mental attitude, and in our conversations. Thank you, Alice Ritchie. Can you, seriously, 1933, she lays it all out right there. If we want peace, look for more peace. If we want love, look and seek love. If you want good in your life, look and seek for good. Faith isn't something that we reach outside of ourselves to somehow get. It isn't like a bargaining thing. If we do enough, I don't know, rosaries, we will magically have more faith. It doesn't work like that. Not if it's rote, not if it's not felt. And I love myself a good rosary, let me get clear. As long as the prayer is affirmative and kind and good. And the thing is that it has to have a feeling tone behind it. The faith has to meet God the good. The part that gets me the most in this whole thing, of course, she's talking about spiritual practices that we teach here, meditation and spiritual study classes or workshops, and being in community and minding our mind, changing our mind, as Daniel's saying so beautifully. The thing that gets me in that piece that I just read for you is when she writes, I believe that everyone has faith and they put it into that which they are acquainted or that which they know. She goes on, evil, AKA, we would say shadow or separation, if they know more evil or shadow or separation. Or God the good, if they know more of God the good. So the question then becomes for us here in 2025, what are you putting your faith into right now? This might be really subtle for some of you. It's different for everyone. But what is it that you are placing your faith in? I want to always make this as personal as I can for you. So let's just say, maybe right now in your life, you are moving through the experience of a diagnosis for you or a loved one. Or maybe it's financial concerns or work issues or perhaps relationship challenges, or even maybe the fear that you are not living the life that you had imagined for yourself. Whatever it may be for you, when we give that fear more real estate in our mind than the faith of the good that is wanting to come into our life, the fear takes over. Do you see? So Ernest Holmes so famously said, fear is faith misplaced. Fear is faith misplaced. So what is it that you are consciously or unconsciously having faith in? And I know it is so easy to get swept up in the fear of today, of what is happening in our country. I get it. But we, like I said earlier, are at choice. Thank you, free will. Psychiatrist, neurologist, and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote, it's one of my favorite statements of all time. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So there is a process that was created and developed by New Thought Reverends Lloyd Strom and Marcia Sutton, who were just our giants in our movement. Way back in the 1990s, they created a beautiful process called Fear to Faith, and it was taken from the early teachings of people like Dr. Alice Ritchie. And I want to give us today a shortened version of it so that if you are experiencing any level of fear, you can leave today with the spiritual tool to transform your fear into faith. Does that sound good? Yeah. And by the way, just so you know, I start preparing for my offering, my Sunday offering for you early in the week. And I meditate, I go within and I listen to how Spirit guides. And what Spirit has been guiding me to share with you are processes, actual processes during Sunday service so that you can implement some of these spiritual tools here and then carry them out. So like last week I did a meditation, and this week we're going to do this spiritual process. And I'm just going to keep listening to Spirit and following Spirit's guide and bring you what it advises me to do, because that's how I be in the world. But I think this is a time for that. This is the time, I think, in our community and in our country to really ground ourselves in some very powerful spiritual practices and processes. So I'd like John to pull up, if you would, the Fear to Faith, just the simple practice. And you don't have to remember this isn't anything for you to know necessarily, but I just want you to familiarize yourself with it. The first is simply to name the fear. The second is to feel it fully. The third is to return to faith. And the fourth is to give thanks. So we're going to do that together. I'm going to guide you. So again, no need. I just wanted you to have an awareness of what we're going to do together today. And those of you at home, NTCSL Colorado, I invite you to join as well. So let's all take a deep, nourishing breath. And close your eyes, or if you're more comfortable, just simply gaze downward at a fixed spot right in front of you, on the floor, somewhere in front of you. Soft gaze. And just allow another deep, nourishing breath in, that cleansing breath. And I'd like for you in this moment, in the safety of this space, to bring to mind something that may be weighing on your heart. Something that may be weighing on your heart. And gently notice what emotions or thoughts arise. And as you're gently noticing the thoughts that are arising, I invite you to gently notice where you feel this in your body temple. No need to analyze, just notice. You may feel it in your solar plexus, in your heart, maybe in your back or your hands. It's different for everyone. Just gently notice, where do you feel it in your body temple? And at the same time, remembering that in this very moment we are on holy ground. This is the safest place any one of us can possibly be. And I invite you now to be present with the feeling in the place of safety and love. Allow yourself to feel it, to be present, allowing any feelings of worry or concern or fear that may be on your heart right now to simply be present in the safety of this space, without judgment, without trying to fix it. Just gently name it for yourself. Remembering that Spirit within you has you. Spirit meets you exactly where you are. And you are so loved and so held by this love as you name this for yourself, as you sit with this feeling, knowing it is just a feeling. And now I invite you to gently ask your inner light, the wisdom within you, what does love or Spirit want me to remember here? What does love or Spirit want me to remember here? This will be a gentle nudge, a gentle feeling. You can ask, what am I to know about this, Spirit? What am I to know about this love? recognizing that Spirit within you speaks only with love and compassion and kindness. What are you here to remember about the truth, the highest truth of this? And now, I invite you to easily and effortlessly move your concern and your worry to the place of trusting. Move your concern and worry to the divine. Give your worry or concern to God, to Spirit, to Source. Just hand it right over. Remembering that you are never alone, that you are always guided and connected to a loving presence that is pure light. Letting go and letting God in this moment. Fully giving over whatever this is to the love of divinity itself. Taking in a deep, nourishing breath. And on the exhale, I invite you to let a quiet thank you rise up. To feel gratitude for this unconditional loving support within you that is always available in every breath. Allowing the feeling of deep gratitude to anchor you in this moment. Being so grateful for this unconditional love and wisdom that is always wanting to guide you. And when you are ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes. Feel the seat beneath you and the air around you. You may want to wiggle, get your wiggles out if you need to. Just allow yourself to be fully present in this God moment. Let's all take a deep breath. So that is a very simplified version of transforming a fear into faith. And you can do that anywhere. You can do that anywhere. We're going to pull the slide up again later in a few minutes here, and we're also going to put that on our website where we have our sacred reading, that beautiful reading from Shalon Harkin. Thank you again, Barb, for that. We'll put this step there for you so that you can absolutely turn to it anytime, that you recognize, oh, I'm a little caught up in fear right now. I'm spinning. I just watched too much of the news. We need to be informed, but you know the difference, okay? Or I've been scrolling and I need to backtrack. This is a powerful practice I invite you to try and to master. It will deeply support you. So, another one of my favorites, Carl Sagan once said, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff." Oh, isn't that magnificent? The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. I love that. It reminds me that we are part of something ancient and intelligent and so beautiful. Last week, I spoke about this idea that during this time that we are living through, joy is strategic. Joy is strategic. We are called to do everything we can to support the most vulnerable among us. This is our time to roll up our sleeves, my friends, and we do that in this community. We do that in multiple ways, and we will continue to do that because that is how we live our faith out into the world. That's how we live it. And it's crucially important that we ourselves, we're taking care of our hearts and our body temples so that we can do that. And we do that by strategically choosing joy. This week, I set some goals for myself to do that, to really seek out joy. I, very impromptu, had a beautiful 2-hour Zoom call with my childhood best friend, Lonnie. And we laughed. She lives in New York, and so I don't get a chance to see her very much. We laughed, we cried. It was the most beautiful, beautiful time of just connecting. Spending time with her, for me, feels like home. You know, people like that in your life. If you have someone in your life, or maybe in a past life, you know, like Lonnie was for me, I invite you to pick up the phone and call them. It is just such a joy, and it's such a gift. And if you don't have someone like that in your life, well, congratulations, you are in a community of kindred spirits and like-minded people that will support and uplift you at any time. It's one of the most beautiful things I think about this community, here and online. I just invite you into. I also watched a bunch of funny shows. You know, stand-up comedy is one of the most underrated art forms I think we have, and I know them all and I love them, and it's such a gift to be able to sit down and know that you're going to laugh for an hour, you know, or a funny show, whatever it might be. I invite you into that this week, along with transforming fear to faith. To stay in that place of faith, we must fortify our actions and what we're doing. And I have found that finding the funny helps me do that. And speaking of fun, speaking of joy and fun, I want to bring into our conversation something that brings me, another thing that brings me lots and lots of joy. It's actually a spiritual practice that I've been engaged in most of my adult life, and that is sacred numerology. And I know for many of you that is new, so I just want to share a little bit about why it is so delightful. It's also incredibly interesting. And if you're open to it, if you allow yourselves just to be open to it, you will find that it's a beautiful portal of communication with the divine. We talk about signs here all the time. You know, people are very comfortable with this idea of signs. You hear a certain line in a song, and it feels like answered prayer. You're in a bookstore maybe, or you're online, and some book catches your attention, and you know you're meant to read that. You're having a conversation with a person, and they say something, and it sort of wakes something up within you. Or you get a feeling to call someone, you call them, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you." Another way that Spirit is continuously speaking to us through signs, through each other, through moments, divine aha moments, are numbers. Numbers are symbols. How many people have had in their life, you know, seen a series of numbers, 111 or 143 or 123 over and over again for a period of time, and you're like, what does this mean? There's deep meaning. There's deep, deep meaning. Pythagoras, who essentially created numerology, he studied the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans lived about 1,000 years before he did. The Chaldeans discovered that each musical note had a vibrational quality. And Pythagoras studied that and recognized there was a connection, and all the musicians in the room will understand this, between math and music. There is a divine, beautiful connection there. Don't worry if you don't like math. It's okay. Numerology is very easy math. But there was this was thousands of years in the making, and Pythagoras came up with numerology about a century and a half or so, give or take, before Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And interestingly, Plato was heavily influenced by Pythagorean thought. Heavily influenced. He understood the validity, there we go. Validity of vibration and vibration within the universe that we live in. And here is where this is totally relevant to us today as we find ourselves halfway through 2025. What? Again, we are in the month of July. In numerology, July is the seventh month. It carries the vibrational quality of the seven, and it just so happens that the seven is the vibration of faith. Seven is the vibration of faith, of spirituality, of surrendering fear, of turning to faith. And let me say this because it matters. The potency of the energy of seven, this month that we are in, is not woo-woo. This is not a modern self-help invention. The ancients understood this across cultures, continents, and traditions. The vibration of the number seven has deep meaning for all of us. For all of us. In ancient Egypt, they understood there were 7 laws of the cosmos. In Hinduism, they developed the 7 chakra system. In Buddhism, there are 7 factors of enlightenment. Judaism, Sabbath is on the 7th day. Kabbalah, 7 emanations of divine energy. Islam, they believe in 7 heavens, and during the pilgrimage to Hajj, which every Muslim is asked to do once in their life, they circle the Kaaba 7 times. Sufism, 7 valleys of transformation. Christianity, 7 days of creation. And in the indigenous traditions, there are 7 directions: east, south, west, north, above, below, and within. These are not random. There is something here for us to pay attention to. There is a sacred pattern at work, a sacred pattern that we are all a part of. I chuckled when I realized that I had scheduled 2 sacred numerology workshops in the month of July. That was kind of fun. And yet, duh. So, the sacred numerology of this month is calling us inward, like the process we just did. The sacred energy of this month is the very question we are exploring today. What is it that we are placing our faith in? Are we aligning with truth, spiritual truth, or are we aligning with fear? Now, I understand that fear is coming up right now, and rightly so. My intention, though, for all of us is to recognize when the fear comes up, when we see something that is scary, when we see something and we feel the fear, to recognize that, to name that feeling, to remember the spiritual truth, and to then complete that with gratitude, to understand that yes, while we're human beings and we have fear, we don't want to pitch a tent there. Do you see? Because then we're just living from fear and lack and limitation, and the glass is half empty, and why go to a march anyway? That is why we're living, especially this month, in this time of invitation for each one of us, this month that can bring us, it's potent, it's full for us, it can bring us spiritual clarity. So, we're always at choice. Again, that's one of the beautiful things about New Thought. I'm just sharing some ideas up here. You get to choose. You get to choose what works for you. To act from love or to act from fear, to act from the soul or to act from ego. During this time, there is an opportunity for spiritual clarity and for sacred courage. And that is what I believe we all incarnated here at this very time to engage in: sacred courage, both in our personal lives, doing the work, doing the healing work within ourselves, as we say every single Sunday, and then walking that out into the world to help make this world a better place for all people. So this week, I have 3 invitations for you. The first is to notice where you are placing your faith. Is your attention serving fear, or is it serving truth and love? Is your inner energy aligned with love, or is it aligned with fear? Faith will find you no matter what, my friends. Remember that. So the crucial question is, what am I placing my faith in? The second thing, and I'm going to ask John, if he has it, to please place the once more this for you, and I've got a little bit more detail for you here. This is the Fear to Faith practice. This will be on our website. First, name the fear. Gently acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, what it is that's coming up. Second, feel it fully. We don't do bypassing here. That's not something that we do. We're here to feel it fully, name it so we can transcend it. Stay present without judgment. Third, give yourself permission to return to faith. And we do that by asking our inner wisdom, spirit within us, what does love or spirit want me to remember here? It will always be love, by the way. It will always be spiritual truth. If it's more fear, that's not your inner divine wisdom. That's your ego. Just say shush, 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 shush. Okay? And the fourth, always give thanks. Always give thanks for that which you receive. Anchor this in gratitude. I invite you to do this week and just watch what happens. Watch what happens. And finally, I invite you to be buoyed by, to let the energy of this sacred 7th month that we are in, maybe this is the time to start a new spiritual practice. Maybe you might want to get an app on your phone for meditation, or deepen your meditation, or affirmative prayer. Maybe you've never come up after service or after online after service and spoken to a practitioner and said, I could use some prayer around this. And let them do that. That's a spiritual practice, praying with a practitioner. You could do that. Think of whatever, maybe it's creating more gratitude in your life. Whatever that may be, in this month of 7, I invite you to up your spiritual practice game. Are you with me? Okay. Ultimately, my invitation to you is, together as a spiritual community, let us consciously choose faith this week, my loves.